All right, let's jump right in. We always hear about profit margins, right? Market share, that's what makes a business successful. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the thing that really makes a company last for generations isn't something you'd find on a balance sheet at all?
So, what is it then? What's the real secret sauce for a business that's actually built to last?
The answer is it's simpler, but honestly, it's way more powerful than you might think. It's not just profit, it's ethics. Yep, a real, deep down commitment to doing the right thing. And believe me, this has a huge impact on the bottom line, probably more than most people even realize.
Okay, but let's get real for a second. Why should a company care about ethics beyond just, getting a pat on the back? Well, it turns out there's a super strong business case for doing good with benefits you can actually see and measure.
And what's really cool is how all these rewards are connected. They kind of feed into each other. It all starts with reputation. You build a strong ethical reputation, and that builds a ton of trust with everyone involved. That trust, it brings in the best employees and keeps customers coming back. And of course, when you have clear standards and trust, you're naturally going to face fewer legal headaches. It all just works together to create this super stable foundation for long-term success. So that's the big picture view for the company, right? But what does all this mean for you, for the person actually doing the work? Because this isn't just some abstract strategy. It's the very basis for the fundamental rights you have as an employee. When you boil it all down, this is the promise of workplace ethics. It's a commitment to run the business with fairness, with integrity, and with respect. It's basically a guarantee that a company is going to operate honorably, especially when it comes to its own people. And where does that start? Well, with the absolute basics: fair pay. You have a right to be paid fairly and transparently for the work you do. Simple as that. This isn't some extra perk. It's the non-negotiable cornerstone of any ethical workplace. And it goes beyond just the paycheck. You have a right to be safe. And I'm not just talking about physical safety, like avoiding accidents. I'm also talking about psychological safety, working in a place where you're free from bullying, harassment, and that constant crushing stress. Okay, and this next one is so critical today in our digital world. You have a right to privacy. This means your personal info should be protected and you shouldn't be under some kind of crazy surveillance. Your personal space, whether it's at your desk or in your data, has to be respected. And finally, you have a right to job security, specifically, freedom from being unfairly let go. This just means that any decisions about your job should be based on your actual performance and a fair process, not just because a manager is having a bad day or has some hidden bias. It's all about justice and knowing where you stand. So when you put all these rights together, they're not just words in a dusty employee handbook. They are your shield. They're the practical tools designed to actively protect you from stuff like discrimination, harassment, and exploitation. This is where the idea of ethics becomes a real, tangible thing that keeps you safe. All right, so we get the why this matters and the what your rights are. But how do companies actually do this? How do they take these big ideas and turn them into something real, something you see every day at work? Well, the best companies build this trust using a kind of three-part toolkit. First up, they create a super clear code of conduct so everyone knows the rules of the game. Second, they have ironclad protections for whistleblowers so people can speak up without fearing for their job. And third, they build transparent complaint systems that are actually fair so when problems do come up, they get handled the right way. These three things, they're the practical foundation of an ethical workplace. Okay, so that's the blueprint. It sounds good on paper, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world, when a company truly lives and breathes this stuff? This is where it all comes together. Let's take a company like Patagonia. They're famous for this stuff, but what are they actually doing? Well, for one, they dig deep into their supply chain to make sure labor practices are fair. They even pay extra to factories that treat their workers well. They also focus on creating safe environments that build trust from the ground up. And their transparent governance? It empowers employees to be part of the solution. You can see how their actions lead directly to these amazing ethical outcomes. And that brings us right back to where we started. It really couldn't be any clearer, could it? Ethics aren't just some nice-to-have add-on. The proof is right there. They form the actual foundation of long-term success. So, as we finish up here, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. Take a look at your own workplace, your own company. What is it really built on? Is it built to last?